Snoopy Museum! Hey everybody, this is Ryan from Adventures Assemble. Today I'm in Santa Rosa, California at the Charles M. Schultz Museum and Research Center. I'm going to walk you through it and let you know if a visit to this museum is worth your time and worth your money. The museum opened in 2002. It's got permanent exhibits, it's got rotating exhibits, everything celebrating the life of Charles Schultz and the Peanuts comic strip. As you enter the Great Hall, you see two art installations by Japanese artist Yoshiteru Otani. You've got the morphing Snoopy sculpture over there on the wall, and in front of me here is the Peanuts tile mural, which has an image of Lucy holding the football, but is actually made up of 3,588 individual Peanuts comic strips. On the day of my visit, one of the rotating exhibits was Paperback Peanuts, which tells the story of how Peanuts first started getting published in paperback form starting in 1952. And as you can see, it's a really well put together exhibit. There's lots of information on the walls, there's artifacts and letters written by Charles Schultz. It was really cool. And then you walk into this gallery of reproduced strips. And I feel like this is where the limitations of the museum start to become apparent. There are a lot of reproductions of the strips in the museum, which makes sense because it is a Charles Schultz museum and comic strips is what he's known for. But I was getting a feeling of like, I don't need to be in a museum to read these comic strips. So I found myself more drawn to the artifacts and the history that told the story of Peanuts and Charles Schultz. I really like this reading room that had vintage Peanuts paperbacks and sort of recreated a little living room, and that was nice. And then after leaving the Paperback Peanuts exhibit, I made my way upstairs to the second floor where there were more rotating and permanent exhibits. Two of the coolest exhibits were up here. One of them was a wrapped Snoopy house by the artist Christo. And then there's this nursery wall that Schultz painted when he and his family lived in Colorado Springs back in 1951. And you can see some really early versions of the Peanuts characters, including Snoopy, walking around on all fours, which of course he never did in later years. There's also a reproduction of Schultz's studio from his Santa Rosa home, which gives you a really cool insight into how he worked and how he lived. And then next to that is the education room where you can read comics, you can make little movies. Up here I also got the bathrooms. Just as a side note, there's no place to eat in the museum. There is a cafe across the street, the Warm Puppy Cafe that's at Snoopy's Home Ice, but inside the museum there aren't any vending machines, there's no places to eat inside, so just kind of take a note of that when you're planning your visit. There's an outdoor area which has some nice places to sit. There's also a kite-eating tree with an actual kite in it. There's also a couple of statues, one of Charlie Brown, one of Linus. These statues are actually all over Sonoma County, and you could check out my video where I tried to visit all of them in one day with some very interesting results. And now I'm walking towards the back of the outdoor area where there is Othmar Hall, which is another education and research facility. When I was there during the summer, so it was closed off only for summer camp, so I didn't get to go inside and check it out. And then I walked across the street to Snoopy's Home Ice, which is an ice rink that's been around since 1969. It's got this really cool Swiss chalet exterior, and you can take ice skating lessons there. You can see ice shows. There's a senior ice hockey tournament. And then there's the Snoopy Gallery and Gift Shop. So the gift shop really does have everything and anything you could possibly want that is Snoopy or Peanuts related. You can see the walls are lined with gifts. There's all kinds of toys. There's tons of different stuffies. I'm looking at a t-shirt now that has Santa Rosa, California written on it. So in case you want a record of where you've been, you can buy that one for you. Then you see upstairs is the gallery. And the gallery is almost like a second museum. And there's no cost to get into the gallery and gift shop. Just walk up this ramp. You'll find yourself in the gallery. You pass this really great Woodstock statue called Reflecting Santa Rosa. There's cool art on the walls. You even pass a Lucy version of the Mona Lisa. And if you want a taste of the history of Peanuts and Charles Schultz, you can just visit the gallery. It's way, way smaller than the museum. It's just this little area up here, but it's got some really, really great stuff. There's some really great displays of different events that have happened at the ice rink in the past. There's lots of Olympians who have performed here. As you can see a video there. And then there's just more artifacts up here. Here's like a whole display of Snoopy stuffies. And I just found this stuff to be more interesting than the stuff that was in the actual museum. Like I just found, like here's a Lego reproduction of the ice rink. And I just think that this is more engaging than reproductions of strips. So my final thoughts on the museum are that it is really nice. It's a little small. It's $15 to get in, so not crazy expensive, but also not super cheap. If you're bringing kids, there's a lot of great stuff to look at, but not a lot of interactive stuff to keep them occupied. The museum itself is only going to take you 45 minutes to an hour to go through the whole thing, but if you add in Snoopy's Home Ice and the Warm Puppy Cafe and the Gallery and Gift Shop, you can make a nice half day out of it. I think that's a great place to leave it, so please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button to follow me for more nerdy adventures. This is Ryan from Adventures Assemble. We'll talk to you soon.